Hello to everybody at Tallgrass Film Festival. We hope that you're enjoying all of the films so far. My name is Magan Stuhr, and I'm a member of this year's EPA program. And tonight, joining us for a Q&A, we have Taras, who is the writer, director, and producer of the short film Flight of the Dodo. He is an award-winning filmmaker who honed his skills in a variety of roles while making award-winning music videos in his teens. His debut short film, Nowhere, A Tragic Tale of Homelessness in London, screened at over 20 festivals and won Best Story at the New Renaissance Film Festival in Amsterdam and Best No-Budget Short Film at the BAFTA-nominated Carmarthen Bay Film Festival in Wales. His full-time job is an editor for global music production company Drumeo. In his spare time, he's producing a feature film for award-winning production company Funfair and is also festival director for the Chilliwack Independent Film Festival. Welcome. We are so excited to have you today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to be here.
And
Both in person, but it was great to be here still virtually.
Yeah, of course. And it really is a great film, and we all enjoyed watching it. So what inspired you to make this film?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for watching it, first of all. And it's super exciting to be playing with tallgrass and everything. Honestly, I just think the idea stemmed from, I assume, like it was kind of a tough point. You know, the whole point of the film is about following your dreams no matter the cost. And I think everyone can kind of, especially artists, can connect with that and understand that. And I just wanted to make it kind of, especially when you're kind of like so difficult, you know, being a filmmaker and like with any art, trying to kind of create, not only just create your art, but kind of get it to be seen or anything like that. So it's a frustrating process, it can be. So I just wanted to make kind of a film about a dreamer that wasn't necessarily kind of like a Hollywood ending. Like, am I allowed to spoil the film a little bit? Because this played before this Q&A.
This is played after, I believe, yeah.
After, okay, cool. So I can say, obviously, with the ending, it's not a happy ending kind of thing. So I wanted to kind of make a film about a dreamer following his dreams no matter what, but kind of, you know, do a bit of a twist on that kind of typical Hollywood ending. And actually, you know, he doesn't succeed. But for me, I still feel like there's some beauty in that, because like the majority of us don't succeed in following our dreams. So, you know, and does that kind of lessen the, you know, the impact of, you know, your dreams kind of thing? So I just wanted to kind of explore that and, yeah, hopefully, shake a few people in watching it and maybe think, oh, maybe this little kid doesn't follow his dreams, but it's not too late for me to kind of follow mine.
And what do you think some of your greatest challenges were when you were creating this film, and how did you work to overcome them?
That's a good question. I guess getting a kid up on a roof was a lot of health and safety was a difficult one. It's the first time I ever worked with a child actor too, and I was super fortunate, because I know like the director always gets all the credit. But I was very blessed to have an incredible cast and crew. Like Julian Rain DeLong was the main actor. It was his first ever kind of short film, and he was just like incredible, like so visceral, and especially for a film with no dialogue too, it was all about the emotion and like his face and expressions, and he just was a dream to work with. So like challenges in that terms, I didn't really experience it with that. So I was very blessed, because I've heard a lot of other directors working with kind of like, they always say don't work with kids and animals, but I was very lucky that my first kind of experience with that was really positive. And I guess just kind of it was my first film in Canada. As you can tell, I'm not a Canadian, I'm English. So I just moved over to BC. I've been here about a year, so it was my first film in BC. So I had kind of a cast and crew, kind of like a bunch of people that I like to work with back in England. So this was like completely starting afresh for me, kind of like making new connections with everyone, you know, from like DP, Leo Harim, who was incredible, like from Vancouver. I was very lucky he came out a lot, and we shot in the small town where I live. So it was just, I guess, challenging wise, that was the biggest challenge, just to kind of create those new connections. But I was very blessed to make a lot of good friends and artists that I want to work with for a long time.
Yeah. And what unexpected things happened in the making of the film?
Oh, good question. I guess weather's always a tough one. It's not the most exciting answer, but we knew that we wanted to film that ending on the rooftop with like a nice kind of sunrise and everything like that, or sunset. And we filmed in April, so it wasn't the best, most stable conditions anyway. And yeah, we just, I remember on the day of the shoot, we were kind of hoping that the weather would turn, and it was just very, basically like 95% of the whole film was just pouring with rain. So we were trying to find those pockets. So that was definitely a surprise. It was tough. And then we basically right at the last minute, we just made the call to go to this rooftop. see if we could film this scene. And then we were very lucky because you can control a lot of things with filmmaking, but you can't really control the weather. And we were very lucky that the kind of sun broke through the clouds, and so that was definitely unexpected. And originally as well, for that final shot where the kid goes over the rooftop, we were struggling with how to do that. We were planning to I had bought a mannequin. We were going to have a mannequin actually go over the rooftop. And of course that hadn't, like, every day I was calling up saying like, oh, where's this mannequin? So we bought it from the States and it didn't come in time. So we had to kind of get creative, with that. But that was definitely something we didn't expect. Yeah. I think it worked though. I think maybe seeing it's always in hindsight, but seeing an actual mannequin go over the edge would have probably been too much. Just hiding it in the cut, I think hopefully is still impactful. I don't know, but
yeah, I think the subtlety of the sound really.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the sound, yeah.
And the backdrop for that shot, the mountains in the distance, really is beautiful. I think the cinematography looks really good.
Yes, that's Leo. He was a real joy. Like one of the most things I enjoy doing with the pre-production of filmmaking is not only just working with the actors, but working with the DP and like storyboarding the film and like going to the locations and doing that extensively. So like that's why I've come over from England I live in Chilliwack, it's called. It's a small town, and those mountains are like my normal kind of view. So I knew like as soon as like I made my first short film here, I have to have that beautiful view kind of thing. So I was very lucky. I just basically went around town looking for the tallest building. And if you know Chilliwack, there's not many tall buildings in Chilliwack. It's a small town. I was just going around trying to find like the best building for a nice view. And luckily that was actually a church where the kid falls off the rooftop, but it worked good. But yeah, I love the settings in the mountains. It's definitely up my street.
And what about the film do you think you're most proud of?
That's a good question. I guess it was my first film because with like a proper crew kind of thing. I've always done stuff in London with like myself and a couple of colleagues. It's always like super small, like 2 or 3 of us. And this was my first experience with like a gaffer, grips, and like just like the whole kind of gamut of filmmaking. So it was really it was definitely intimidating to like, and it was a small budget film. Like, it was 10,000. So a lot of people worked for like free, which I was very grateful for. But kind of going from, like you and a couple of friends making movies to kind of like, oh, now there's 20 people on set, 25 people. It might not seem like much compared to a lot of like, bigger films. But for me, that was quite a jump. So I think just from the managing side of things and getting to work with everyone and not completely destroying the film, I'm proud of that. So that was good. And just, I think the biggest thing I've heard from people who watch the film is hopefully for most people, it kind of connects with them emotionally. And that was always a thing because, having the film end like that, I didn't want everyone to hate me. So I'm proud that people seem to connect with the kid and hopefully strikes a chord. So.
And how did you fund the film's budget?
It was a cross between things. I think about half of it was just savings. So my girlfriend wasn't happy about that, but you have to try and make films. And then I was fortunate to, we had a couple of grants. There's a short film grant called Genera Films, which was just starting out at the time. I'm sure it's probably a bit harder now to get into, but I was very blessed. They gave me about a third of the budget. And then I also applied for some in Canada. Canada, BC especially, are pretty good for the grants. You can't always get maybe the full amount, but it was kind of a mix between grants and my own savings. And then from my first short film, Nowhere, the one about homelessness, we actually ended up shooting in some house for some of it, and the guy liked the film so much that he said he would fund the next film a little bit. So it's just kind of like I guess of all films, just scrounging together all the elements and going a bit over budget and then going into personal savings, but it was definitely worth it.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's worth it. It's a great film.
It was my first experience with an Alexa and Ari as well. So like, you always dream, like that was my biggest thing. Like the other producers were saying like, oh, we can just do this for cheaper on a Red or something. And me being I think I'm a pretty logical guy, but I just love Ari, so I just had to shoot it on an Ari. So a lot of the money went into that and the vintage lenses. Could have saved probably half the budget if I didn't do that, but I loved it. So it was fun.
And in the introduction of the film, you have this quote. It says, "To love without hope is to cease to live." And I'm not going to try and pronounce the name of the guy who says that, but what was your intention behind choosing that quote?
Yeah, God, yeah, that seems like a million years ago. But yeah, it's Dostoevsky. He's my favorite storyteller, period. If you haven't read Crime and Punishment or The Brothers Karamazov, he's a Russian novelist. But yeah, I just love his stories. They're so beautiful about the human soul. I don't know, I just felt that that quote really encapsulated the kind of ethos of the film of like following your dreams no matter what, you know. You can kind of be scared in life and not go for it, but then what type of life is that, you know? It's just better to have loved and, you know, and tried. And so yeah, I just think it, you know, I always like kind of just doing a quote at the start sometimes when I can as well. So
And how was the film cast?
yeah, that was I guess again tricky coming over from London to BC, Vancouver kind of area. There's like a lot of, I think BC, Vancouver is the third largest industry in North America after like New York and LA. So there's like lots of talent here and like a lot of incredible people, but it was definitely a new experience for me to like, you know, I didn't know anyone. So I was very lucky that we had like the producers who helped set up casting calls. And the biggest concern obviously was finding like the child, the lead. And I think we didn't see too many in the end. We saw about 10 or 12 kids just kind of like, they come in. And it was another interesting process because normally when like you audition a film, you obviously like get them to read sides and stuff like that. But I knew that there was going to be, I think there's one line of dialogue in the whole film. So we just like played games with the kid and just like wanted to see how he listened to direction and kind of like we did different kind of imagination kind of tasks. And it was, I hate kind of being that person who like everyone says it when there's like a rehearsal or I mean an audition where you're like, oh, that's the one. But as soon as Julian came in, I just knew that he just had it. So it was actually quite an easy process to find him. And then for the other characters, even though you don't really see any faces, I still wanted to find, you know, kind of good actors who we could work with. And that was just more kind of finding people who we knew about. We did have one actor who was going to originally be the shopkeeper, the proprietor, but we didn't, again, it's new to me, but I didn't realize he was union. So there's a whole thing with union actors too. So he had to drop out a week before. So that was a little last minute. There's always something, isn't there? Like just before you start shooting, there's always something to kind of to handle. So but luckily I used Darren, who was incredible, the guy with the big beard, and he definitely has a look. So.
And there's a couple shots in the film that I liked. There's one at the beginning with the bird flying across the screen, and then there's one with the plane that you catch. And how did you work to catch those on video at the right time?
Oh yeah, you mean that the opening shot with the bird going through past the window? Yeah, that's just CGI. That was yeah. That was I always knew that I wanted the first shot to kind of basically again encapsulate the whole film in the sense of like we see kind of a bird flying by, which obviously is like the flying motif, and then kind of the camera I wanted to kind of to come through into like the prism of like the classroom and then kind of mill through. So that was definitely one of the hardest shots in the film to do. I know my DP Leo was probably pulling his hair a little bit, but so when we actually filmed out the window, because the classroom was perfect, the inside, but like with everything, the outside was horrible. So like, you could literally see like a basketball hoop, and it was not a very nice thing. So fortunately, we had a really good VFX artist, Aaron Strasberg, who kind of cleaned the window out, so we could just shoot out the window. He made all the backdrop and the bird and everything. So that was definitely handy because that was that was probably the toughest shot in the film. And then just going through the class and like obviously that we had like 15 kids there trying to kind of make sure they're all doing the same thing and, you know, working together. And then what was the other shot you said? The plane going by?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was just a case of good old fashioned just sitting on the rooftop waiting for a plane to go by. So that was nice. But yeah, I knew again it was in the storyboards. I wanted to keep coming back to this flying motif. And then just when we were on the rooftop, you have some pretty nice views of the mountains and the plains and everything. So it was good.
Yeah, definitely. And I've noticed throughout the film, you kind of switch from shakier shots, maybe they're handheld, to shots that are steady. Was that intentional?
Yeah. That was basically to try and showcase that you know, his kind of state of mind. I always wanted the shots that basically like showcase kind of the world around him. You know, like the whole film, you don't see really anyone else's face except for the kid and the one other adult who actually kind of gives him the time of day. So like I wanted all the shots to basically kind of like show his state of mind. And obviously that kind of like, it kind of really transitions to all handheld by the end when he's on the rooftop, because obviously then it's kind of like, you know, it's like he's in that moment, he's about to kind of go, but I also wanted to kind of go away from the safety of, you know, a tripod locked off shot. So like, oh, now it's a bit handheld. It's a little bit more raw, were a bit in danger. So yeah, just hopefully I wanted to, each transition was to reflect his kind of state of mind and where he is in the world and the film at that time.
And what was the intention behind only shooting, it looks like all of the adults in the film other than the proprietor are shot from below the shoulders, and what was the intention behind that?
Yeah, it was just really just to try and isolate the main character as much as possible. You know, not that all the actors didn't have fantastic faces that I would like to have filmed, but and it's very tough to kind of sell it to an actor and you're like, hey, do you want to be in this film? But we're not actually going to see your face, you know? So that was tough. But yeah, I thought it was a discussion I had early on with Leo, the DP, and like it was a tough one because we both said like once we kind of commit to this, there's no going back, you know, you have to kind of stick to your own rules through it. But I think it hopefully works in just really kind of isolating the main character in the film, because like especially like you think when you're a child, like, you know, you see the world from a different vantage point. You're like soloed down. You don't. We all look at each other. You know, eye contact. We're all eye level. I really wanted to kind of showcase that thing where he's just in his own little world. He's an outsider, and what better way to do that? Hopefully, even when he's around the dinner table, by like not showing other faces. It's just hopefully, and again maybe it doesn't. But the intention was to try and just showcase that kind of coldness of the world, so that way he recedes more and more into himself and into his psychology and like his dreams. So by the end of it, like, you know, it's almost like him jumping off this rooftop isn't the craziest thing. It's him, you know, he's gonna fly hopefully. So
And something that really stands out about this film is definitely the score. I think it's very beautiful, and I think it captures the overall tone of the film very well. So did you work with the composer at all to create a score that fit your tastes?
yeah, thanks for saying that. Was probably one of the hardest things you're saying about challenges earlier. That was very difficult. I was very blessed that his name is Sean Williams. He's a brilliant composer kind of thing. And I knew from the start of the film that because there's no dialogue, like the score is going to be massive. It's going to be super important. And unfortunately, I know like zero about music. You know, I know kind of like, you know, with film, you kind of like can sense if it's appropriate or not. But it's very difficult for me to articulate what I wanted. And we went back and forth. I actually tried a few other composers beforehand, and like through no fault of their own, it just didn't quite work. Because it's quite, you know, you already have the shots in mind and storyboards. You kind of need the music to fit with that. And yeah, I was very lucky that I think the producer just recommended. I think I actually stole him from the festival I run. It's a lot smaller than Tallgrass, but it's just a little festival out here. And he had actually won the best score the year before at the festival, the SIF. And I just reached out to him, and yeah, I was very lucky that he kind of straight away got it, understood it, and just really elevated it beyond anything I could possibly do. So yeah, he's a talented guy. So if anyone needs a composer, you know, Sean Williams.
And there's a couple times in the film when the child, Isaac, the main character, is playing with the spaceship, and it's the Challenger. Was that intentional,
Yeah.
foreshadowing the ending at all?
You've done your homework. Yeah, that was it. I think that's the first comment anyone's like actually picked up on it. Yeah, it was exactly that. Yeah, I just, again, me being a pain, I guess, but I knew that I wanted to play with a spaceship. I had to be the Challenger for obvious reasons, the tragedy that happened, and I wanted to kind of foreshadow that. So yeah, well done. I think that's the first time no one's ever said that. So that's cool. Yeah, I like that you picked that up. Did you pick that up, or did someone else tell you that? Or
Yeah, I was watching it and I noticed it.
oh, awesome. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's a good detail to put in the film.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's nice to do like little Easter eggs and stuff. So yeah, very cool.
And with the ending, you've mentioned a couple times that you don't want people to hate you for the ending. So when you were writing the script, did you know that you wanted it to be, as you described it, a dark comedy?
Yeah. I did know. Like, yeah, it was that was again probably the hardest thing to go back and forth with everyone, because like I think it's the sound, isn't it? Like that sound at the end is so kind of dramatic, and like I don't think there's much ambiguity at the end that, like, you know, oh, he did not fly, you know. And in the script it was very clear about like it needs to be a, you know, bone crunching kind of sound. So I know it's one thing to talk about it and we do the filming, but when you actually get into the editing room, when people were watching the film, they were like, "Oh, come on, man, you can't have this sound at the end of it. Just take the sound out." And that was like a lot of back and forth. But unfortunately, it probably hasn't helped the film's chances in like a lot of other festivals, as I think people, you know, don't want a little kid to jump off a building and probably die, which I completely understand. But I think if we took away this sound, it would have belittled the whole point of it, in the fact that this kid is never gonna, like, you know, he's making wings out of like like canvas and stuff. He's not going to fly, you know, that's not the point of the movie. If he flies, it's about following your dream no matter what, and kind of just that beauty of that, you know. And I really do believe that if he knew that the end was going to happen, I think the kid would have still jumped, because that's what dreamers do. You just, even if you know 100% it's not going to happen, there's still maybe a fraction that, like, maybe just this time it'll work. So it was very, unfortunately, we just had to have the sound in there, and just, so, and also, I guess also I do have a bit of a dark sense of humor, so it was kind of like enjoyable to have everyone come aboard this ride, and then right at the end, you know, I've not been able to, because of COVID, go to too many live screenings, but the few ones I've been, usually the response I've seen in person is you get a few gasps, and maybe one guy in the theater will start laughing. So that's good enough for me, yeah.
And it's cool how you managed to put kind of an inspirational message into something so morbid.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Maybe that's just me, I don't know what that says about me.
And obviously the title of the film is Flight of the Dodo, and the dodo is a flightless bird, correct?
Yeah, so it's right there in the title, yeah. It's flightless, yeah.
So how did you choose the name of the film?
Yeah, I guess similar to like the little details with the Challenger spacecraft and stuff, it just kind of just fit really. I love the TV series Flight of the Conchords. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that's an awesome TV series. And then, yeah, I just fly the dodo. Dodos can't fly. So, you know, hopefully it gets a little bit of intrigue, or at least it's easy to remember. So.
And do you think there are any filmmakers or works of film that have inspired this film at all?
That's a good question. I guess you're always inspired by like everyone, you know. Funnily enough, most of the filmmakers I'm most inspired by, I don't really like. I love Tarantino and stuff, but I don't really have many Tarantino traits. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know, because I couldn't ever do what he does, you know. But I love kind of like, you know, Tarkovsky, and kind of that letting the camera sit there and let the life kind of unfold in that. I love a lot of Asian cinema too, like Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook, and just like, again, just I love, like, especially I feel like maybe Korean cinema, like that kind of tonally with like Bong Joon-ho, with how he can kind of have the drama, and then the same second there's humor there, kind of thing, like something terrible can happen, but at the same time there's like humor there. So I think maybe that's probably the biggest inspiration for that. So I do love how Korean cinema kind of handles that.
And just wrapping it up a little bit, are you working on any new projects at the moment?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I just in post-production another short film called Origin, which is a very, very different. No little kids jumping off buildings this time, so that's good. So it's just more of a sci-fi kind of, again, I guess, like with all films, I do a little bit about loneliness and just trying to find your place in the world. And then we're also just working on the feature film. We actually changed production company names. It was Funfair at the start, but now it's Zone Pictures. So like, if you need to look us up, Zone Pictures. But yeah, so we're just still working on a feature film as well at the moment. So yeah, hopefully get to submit that next year and come in person would be cool.
That's great. We're looking forward to whatever you have next to create.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'm
yeah,
still really impressed you caught the challenge. That was really cool. Awesome. Made my day.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us tonight and answering all of my questions. And I'm sure everybody at home enjoyed listening to you talk about your own film. And I'm just, thank you all for watching, and have a nice day, evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Thank you all. Bye.